everyone. Welcome back to Global Retail Conference 2025, presented by WeSave, a transformational platform shaping the future of global retail and e-commerce. As one of the largest and most influential initiatives in industry, Global Retail brings together visionary leaders to address the forces transforming retail: technological innovation, sustainability, and evolving consumer expectations. Over this week, we've been exploring groundbreaking ideas, actionable strategies, and leadership insights that redefine commerce. It's been more than a conference. It's been a call to action to lead with purpose, collaborate effectively, drive meaningful impact, as well as create community. So we're pleased to welcome to the WeSave Global Retail Conference. Next up is Mindy Scheier. She is the founder of Gamut Management and Runway of Dreams, and she's joining us today from the metropolitan New York area. So good afternoon, Mindy. Welcome.
Thank you, Glenn. Very excited to be here.
Okay, we look forward to your talk.
Thank you. So welcome everyone to your journey into the world of disability. Again, my name is Mindy Scheier, and as our first learning opportunity, I'm going to do what's called a visual description. For those out there that may have low or no vision, we always want to make everyone feel very included and really know who's speaking to them. So I am a white woman. I'm wearing a black fedora hat. I have long red hair. I'm wearing a cheetah print shirt with a big bow tie. Behind me are logos of Runway of Dreams and Gamut Management. And to my left is a mannequin that shows the very first product we did with Tommy Hilfiger. So again, on to our journey. I always like to start with a little bit of a language lesson and really impart my audience on different words that are good and not so good in the disability space. The first one is the word handicap. So handicap, actually, the derivative of the word came from centuries ago when people with disabilities were only considered beggars. That's the best that they could do. And they put their cap in their hand, and that was all that they were good for. And that is the genesis of the word handicap. So we really like to refer to it a bit in the community as a curse word. The R word, that certainly you can contact me on the side, mindy@runwayofdreams.org, to understand what the R word is if you don't know, but it really needs to be struck from our language. The current approved language in the disability space is people first language. So you would say a person with a disability, as people with disabilities are people first and foremost. Next, let's talk about some mind-blowing stats. People with disabilities are the largest minority in the world. The only minority that every single one of us could be a part of at any point in our life, and that includes just aging. 1 in 4 people identify with having a disability, with the grand total of an estimated 1.3 billion people on this planet identify with having a disability, which actually means that that figure is much larger for those that don't say that they have a disability. There's an estimated $13 trillion that's being left on the table every year by not including people with disabilities. So now that you have a little bit of a historical data point and you have some language that you feel a little more comfortable talking about the disability community, let me start on my journey. So I was that little girl that dreamed of being a fashion designer, and I didn't want to just be a fashion designer. I wanted to be a global brand. I grew up in the age of Betsy Johnson, and I felt that I had hair like her, a little bit of joie de vivre like her, and I was going to be the next Betsy Johnson. Well, as life would have it, my journey took a bit of a different path. As I was doing fairly well on the work I was doing in the fashion industry, I became a mom. I have 3 amazing kids, but my middle child, Oliver, was born with a very rare form of muscular dystrophy called rigid spine. His version is an estimated, there's only 70 cases identified in the world of his version of muscular dystrophy. So the doctors were really learning as he was growing up about how this was going to impact him in his daily life. But as we really learned very quickly, everything that is an everyday task for us, the one thing I love more than anything every day, getting dressed, was a daily reminder of what Oliver could not do, which are buttons, zippers, putting on shoes, tying laces, putting pants over his leg braces, etc. So when he was of school age, he wore sweatpants every single day until he was 8 years old. And he came home from school and he said, "Mom, I want to wear jeans like everybody else gets to wear." And it was a true kick in the stomach moment, not only as a fashion designer, but as a mom, that I could not solve this for him. This was back in 2013, and there were 0 mainstream brands in the adaptive space. What is adaptive, you ask? Adaptive products are products that have been modified or created for people with disabilities, those that struggle with being able to utilize mainstream products like clothing, or the elderly. I had never heard of that term before. Oliver came into our life, but I got very, very clear about what it was. And when I started Googling what this adaptive product looked like, it was absolutely nothing that I would ever dress my son in, knowing how important it was, especially based on what he was communicating to us about wanting to wear jeans like everybody else. It really spoke to the fact that didn't matter your age, if you cared about fashion, if you didn't care about fashion, how you show up to the world is so important to your self-esteem and your confidence. And that night, I ripped apart a pair of his jeans and put them back together in possibly the worst design I'd ever done. It included some peel and stick Velcro, some creative stitching, but the very next day was the first time he had ever been able to independently dress himself. And these pair of jeans changed his life and mine. And it was that very experience that I decided to take my background and have a small goal of changing the fashion and beauty industries to be inclusive of people with disabilities. And the Runway of Dreams Foundation was born. Here's a little video about Runway of Dreams. Runway of Dreams Foundation is a nonprofit organization that works towards a future of inclusion, acceptance, and opportunity in the fashion industry for people with disabilities. Founded on the basis that clothing is a basic human need, the foundation develops, delivers, and supports programs and events that celebrate people's differences, break down stereotypes, highlight the need for mainstream adaptive apparel, and showcase people with disabilities in fashion.
The sides of my top here have snaps, so they like open up, so it's really easy to put on.
We were always looking for ways for him to express himself, even if he couldn't do it with words, and that's something else that clothes allow him to do.
Hannah, wouldn't life be so much easier if all of my clothing was adaptive?
We love fashion, and the thing about clothes, when you look good, you feel good, and we want to feel good also.
Runway of Dreams honestly changed my life.
So it is so important to show the fashion industry and the world that people with disabilities are people first, and we have to rebrand who they are in the public eye. And no better way to do that than on a runway.
No other show has brands sharing the same runway for one mission.
JCPenney, Tommy Hilfiger, Kohl's, Zappos, Target, Stride Right.
Walking the runway was probably the best experience I've ever had. I felt so much support, and it's truly an indescribable feeling, and I'll remember it forever.
This event means that we can show off all the abilities of people living with disabilities and how special all the people that walk this earth truly are.
It gives me strength and pride to walk down that runway and show people that we want to be loved and be seen, and we are beautiful.
With your support, Runway of Dreams will work to ensure that adaptive apparel will become as commonplace as petite or plus sizes, and that the over 1 billion people around the world living with a disability will be empowered with confidence, independence, and style. This is Runway of Dreams. So that's a little background and a little imagery of the power that Runway of Dreams has really brought to the fashion industry. But then when we talk about what does that mean? What did we really instill in the brands that we are working with? So when I decided to start Runway of Dreams, I knew that I could not go to the industry unless I really knew what I was talking about. And I only knew my world with Oliver. I did not know what someone with a limb difference or somebody that was in a wheelchair full time, Down syndrome, autism, all the other disabilities under the umbrella, what were their needs in the adaptive space. So I did a year's worth of research. I went to schools and hospitals, I did surveys. I really was able to integrate myself into this population. And fortunately, after that year, I was able to extrapolate out that there were commonalities between vastly different disabilities and clothing challenges, and was able to come up with modifications that could be implemented into mainstream clothing. In 2016, we made fashion history by partnering with Tommy Hilfiger and creating the first ever mainstream adaptive clothing line, which is now Tommy Adaptive. What that partnership did was really open the floodgates to so many brands and even other industries to start reaching out to Runway of Dreams and thinking about, well, how do we get involved in this adaptive space? How do we connect with people with disabilities or have them on our runways or ad campaigns or marketing campaigns, etc.? So it became very clear that a second company needed to be born, and that was Gamut Management. Gamut Management was born in 2019 as a consulting, talent, and accreditation company that only works in the adaptive space and only works with people with disabilities. What we started learning from brands or retailers or other industries when they came to Gamut, they came with, we don't know where to begin. We understand that this population is so important. And as you all just learned, the size of the population is unbelievably huge white space. Again, let me go back to those numbers. 1 in 4 people identify with having a disability. 20% of our population, an estimated $13 trillion being left on the table. So I always like to kind of hone this all in with a good business case. Don't we all love a good business case? So about 2 years ago, Victoria's Secret came to Gamut Management and said, we know we're missing out on a huge part of our population, women or those that identify as women with disabilities. But we don't understand this consumer. We don't know how to even get involved in this population. And this is our favorite spot where we love when brands come to us with that real honesty that they need to understand who the consumer is first. So we started the journey. How do we best start the journey? By understanding who this population is. So we brought in women with all different types of disabilities to meet with the teams at Victoria's Secret, ranging from their product development teams, their marketing teams, their HR teams, all of the critical teams internal that would have a stake in the value chain of creating adapted products. Because it's so much more than just the product that we want brands to think about. It's how the product exists both internally and externally. So it was so important for all these teams to really understand who the consumer was. So we like to talk about that as the who. Who are we getting involved in this space for? So once we really got a good handle on that and the teams felt really good about who this consumer was, then we move into the how or what the product is. And that again, we don't just leave the population behind in this journey, we take them along with us. So when we started to work with the product team specifically about what the product would be, the population made it very clear that bras and panties are so difficult. Think about if you have a limb difference, if you don't have 10 fingers, if you don't have the ability to utilize your arms, or if you have to be dressed every single day because you don't have the capacity to dress yourself. A bra that closes in the back with a hook and eye is incredibly difficult. I actually really do need to do this research because I am convinced that, no offense to our men folk, but a woman would have never designed a bra that closed in the back with a hook and eye. Glenn, I love the little giggle I'm seeing from you there. I know that you hear what I'm talking about. So really, really rethinking the way that a product is made is really the foundational principle of adapted products. Let's just rethink the way things are developed. So very clearly, these women with disabilities said, we need a front closure. We need magnets that make it so much easier, even in our panties. The process of pulling them up and down can be really, really difficult for a big part of the population. So let's have the option of having them open on the sides as well, so that it makes it so much easier for us to be able to dress ourselves or be dressed. So when the Victoria's Secret team heard this, they immediately understood, because they knew this population now, why these changes were so important to this part of the population being able to actually wear Victoria's Secret product. So now we get into, okay, how are we going now out to this population? And that goes into, now we're in the marketing, PR stage of really bringing in women with disabilities to our mainstream media and showing that women with disabilities can wear Victoria's Secret products as well. And that was a key part of the work that we did in the different stages of including women with disabilities all the way through at every step of the value chain. One key component before we even went live with this product line, the population continually was asking, well, how do we know that Victoria's Secret isn't just putting magnets in a bra and calling it adaptive? How do we know that they actually worked with women with disabilities and we can trust that product? On the other side, the brands were saying, how do we properly market to this population in a way that just doesn't feel like we're checking a box or doesn't feel like it's tokenism and we just put in a person with a disability? How can we authentically show that we utilized people with disabilities during every step of this process? Well, how do we do that in our everyday lives? How do we trust a product is gluten-free, has animal-free testing, is green in the creation of it, or is sustainable? Certification marks. Certification marks is that trust factor that we as consumers know that's a product for me. So we developed the first ever certification mark in the adaptive space called the Gamut Seal of Approval that identified to the consumer that this product or service has been vetted and approved by people with disabilities, PTs and OTs, experts in the space, that their claims of inclusion of people with disabilities and or their adaptive marks have been approved. And I am so excited to say that we actually launched with Adidas. I always like to have some visuals. Here is a sock that is an adaptive sock that we co-created through Gamut with Adidas that is the most extraordinary sock that truly anyone would want to wear. It's seamless. It has compression in all the right places. It has a way that if you struggle with being able to physically pull up a sock, it has a functionality at the top that all you need is one finger or a hook or something that can help you take the sock up and down. But as you can see, Adidas proudly shows the Gamut Seal of Approval to identify to the population that this product has been vetted and approved by people with disabilities. So now here we are, we're into October of 2023, and Victoria's Secret product is ready to launch, not only online, but in stores as well, with the Gamut Seal of Approval, identifying their authenticity. And I am so excited to say that this product has now really bled over to our mainstream markets as well. As what woman would not want to wear a magnetic front bra? Which leads me to another critical piece that I want to start, I know that I'm running out of time, leave you with is so many products that we all use today have been created originally for people with disabilities. Let's take texting. If I could see you all right now, I would do a little temperature check to see who sent a text today. I would be sure that every single one of you would put some marker in the air that you sent a text today. Well, texting was created as an alternate form of communication for those that could not communicate in the typical way. How many of you travel on a regular basis? Guess what? Wheels on a suitcase were developed to make it easier for people with disabilities to travel. Electric toothbrushes, eyewear, glasses, originally created for those that could not see originally in a 2020 way. Now the eyeglass industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is incredibly mainstream. So you can see where I'm going here. If it works for someone with a disabilities, it will work for everyone. So as I start to wrap up my talk, what I want to leave you all with is understanding the huge business opportunity this is from a retail perspective, from a brand perspective of inclusion of people with disabilities is not just the right thing to do, it's a business opportunity. Let me leave you with one final story. It's about a teacher who is in a wheelchair, and he rolled up to his school on a very snowy day and saw the custodian there shoveling the stairs. And he said to him, "Would you do me a favor? Could you please shovel the ramp so that I can get into school?" The custodian looked at him and said, "Absolutely. Let me just finish the steps and I'll get right to the ramp." And the teacher said back to him, "But if you shovel the ramp first, everyone can get into school." That is what I want to leave you with, because inclusion of people with disabilities is a business opportunity that only allows so many more consumers to utilize your products, your retail facilities. Let's do this together. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to be here.
Bravo, bravo, Mindy. Incredible. Just incredible. Couple things. The giggle. I just watched 1935's 39 Steps, and there's a scene in the film when when the main character jump off the train and climbs down the railway bridge. He's in a compartment with a couple of undergarment executives, and they were debating, two old guys debating what the design should be and why, right?
There you go, Glenn.
Having absolutely no idea. Second film image, and it's always a touching one for me, and I'm a classic film fan. The movie Best Years of Our Lives. The Homer character comes back. He's one of the three returning servicemen to his community, and Homer's a Navy midshipman who loses his arms, and he comes back with the hooks. And a good portion of the movie is watching Homer come back to society and how society reacts. And of course, the climactic scene is when his long-term high school sweetheart, Homer, I'm here to marry you, not your not your arms. And it just reminds me of that with all of your wonderful work. I had heard of Runway of Dreams. I didn't know it was you, so I am thrilled to be part of this talk. 6 words that change the world, right? Mom, I want to wear jeans.
True. That's it.
Incredible.
Change my world, and hopefully we're changing the world.
Adaptive clothing, and the video snippet was incredible because everybody wants to look good, and when you look good, you feel good, right?
Exactly.
Irrespective of where you are on your journey, it's that kind of empowering moment. And I love what you said about if you do the ramp first, everybody gets in. That's incredible. I've had a little bit of experience. I'm part of the board of the Long Island Children's Museum here on Long Island, and we have something that's in the center of our museum, and we built it 23 years ago, called the Climber. But what we did with the Climber, to take those children in wheelchairs, to have them be able to experience it, we created a ramp that kind of goes in and around the Climber, and we did a whole bunch of different things with like the flooring and the traction to make it kind of feel the same type of journey. I remember when we worked with the artist at the time, it's like, wow, that's really forward thinking. And you know what? It's mainstream thinking. It's what it's supposed to be.
Beautifully said, Glenn. It's mainstream. It's mainstream thinking. It's inclusive thinking.
No, this is just fantastic. 1 in 4 people, 1.3 billion people. That's if you just flip it to retail for a minute, that's some market share.
Exactly.
That's sitting out there waiting from an addressable market standpoint. Congratulations on the Victoria's Secret case and the fact that, and it's not just how we going to market to them, right? It's let's do the design right. Let's do the human resource element of it right. That's really fascinating to see. And the same on the Adidas side as well. And your other references about things we take for granted that really came from that, like glasses, like texting, like the electric toothbrush, rollerboards, right? Okay, got to jam them now into. Of course, everybody has them now, and you got to jam them into the overhead compartment. But all of that sprang from somebody's need, and you're just hitting a home run here with all that you're doing.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
How's the reactions? You think, where we always talk about retail and the customers. How you think about like the families you must touch all the time. They must, when they see you, they must want to run up and give you the biggest hug.
It is the greatest part of what I get to do is to be engaged in the population, because it will never ever get old to witness someone at the age of 30 years old being able to dress themselves for the first time in their life is extraordinary. And the fact that I get to have a small part in that moment in their life is extraordinary. And Glenn, I have the unique experience of this being personal and professional. So people like to ask, what is my driver? Why do I keep going even when it gets hard, blah blah blah? Because I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. I only have to gain and hopefully help create a world that looks at my son and the 1.3 billion people in the world as just people, just period.
That's right. And as you opened up, and I've taken some healthcare management classes where they focus on just that words matter, and it's how do you go about addressing people, and there's a right way to do it and maybe an old-fashioned wrong way to do it, but it makes a difference. It makes a difference. Well, listen, congratulations. Best
Thank
to
you.
you, best to Oliver, best to your whole family, and all that you're doing is just so important. Adaptive space on the products, the clothing, and the fashion. It's
Exactly.
runways are for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Well, Mindy, thank you for joining
Thank
here
you, Glenn. I'm
We
so
Save.
grateful.
Fantastic. Please stay in touch. If we can be of any help to you and the foundation, please reach out.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.